Hello everyone, welcome to Berry Fun Adventures, episode 10. My name is Tanya and I'm coming to you from southeast Minnesota where my family and I run Firefly Berries, which is a small pick-your-own fruit farm that specializes in Concord grapes and strawberries, as well as naturally dyed yarn that I dye naturally myself with the plants that we grow on our farm. So thanks so much everyone for coming back, and if you're new to the channel, thanks for checking us out. We appreciate it. So I'm super excited to be back with you today to share everything I've been working on, from the crafty adventures, things I've been knitting, crocheting, to things that I am cooking in the kitchen, as well as things we're learning in the classroom. So before we go any further, I do have one quick administrative sort of thing I just want to say, and that is Berry Fun Yarns will be having a big spring cleaning sale coming this coming Saturday, February 27th through Saturday, March 13th, and it will be a really good sale. Most of the full skein yarns, in fact, I think all of the full skein yarns will be between $20 and $22 a piece. So I will talk more about that in the pot section where I talk about natural dyes, and I'll show you some of the things that will be in the shop. But just wanted to put that out there here, so if you want to stick around and learn more about that, you can. But otherwise, I don't have anything else super different or unusual to share, except to get right into what I am wearing. And today I'm wearing a very old sweater, and it looks probably really pilly. It needs a good gleaning from the gleaner. This is the Manzanilla pullover. You can kind of see it. And it is a pullover with the cool, I love the cable down the side of the sleeves. It is by Joji Locatelli. And I knit it, it was one of my first sweaters I knit. I knit it in 2017, and it's just out of Cascade 220 Superwash in the Port colorway. And yeah, not much to say. It is one of my favorite sweaters because I made it a little bit bigger than I probably did, which tends to be the case when you first start knitting. You think, for me anyway, I always think I'm bigger than I really am. And then you forget that superwash yarn really does stretch after you wash it. So that's kind of what happened to this one. In fact, I can tell right now if I stand up, it's like you can't even, it's getting kind of long and stretched out. It's ready for a wash. And then I actually, which is why it needs depilling, is that I put it in the dryer, because otherwise it just stretches out way beyond. It looks like I'm wearing a dress. And as comfortable as it is, it looks not so, what's the word? Not so flattering on me. So anyway, but I love the pattern. It has a super cool construction, and how she has you knit the sleeves. In fact, you start with the cables and then you knit the sideways this direction, and you pick up the back and then the front. Super cool pattern, super fun construction. So that one is definitely one that I'd recommend, and it wasn't that complicated. Joji Locatelli writes really clear patterns, so I think, you know, even if you're a beginner sweater knitter, you'd do just fine, even though it's not the typical raglan increases. So and then the cowl I'm wearing today I stole actually from my son's winter box, and this is the Alight cowl. The Alight cowl is by Susie White from Prairie Girl Designs, I believe is her name, her Susie White Prairie Girl Designs on Ravelry. But it's just a cool textured pattern with the pearls and the knits. And this is knit out of DK Weight. This is Leading Men Fiber Arts in the Dramaturg base, I believe it's called. And this is the Winter Wonderland colorway. So I really need to knit myself one of these cowls. Maybe not this pattern in particular, although this one is very easy and quick to knit because it's just knits and pearls. But I need a closer to my neck kind of cowl that's of DK Weight. So I've had the shift cowl in my queue for a while, so I think that's the one I'm gonna make. Anyway, excuse me for a second, I want to put this back on. It's kind of cold well, it's warming up here in Minnesota. It's up to the 30s. We're almost at the freezing point, but it's still pretty cold and it still feels cold in my house. So anyway, that's what I'm wearing today. Just two things. Looking down at my notes here, but I did finish some things, believe it or not. In fact, since the last time I came to you, I didn't finish anything that I was working on at the time, but I cast on some things since then and finished them in that short time. So the first thing that I knit were 3 washcloths, not super exciting, but these are the pattern Grandma's Second Favorite Dishcloth by PJ Allen. And there are 2 versions. This one has the whole version. There's holes along the edge. And then this one does not. It's just the little border edging. So I did 2 with holes. So this one I was kind of trying to use up. This is Knit Picks Dishy cotton yarn. And the colorway on the top is called Berry Basket. And the one on the bottom, I believe, is just called Blue. So I knit these on a US 7 needle, and the pattern calls for, it's a free pattern on Ravelry, so I'm not sharing any of the secret sauce, but the pattern calls for, I believe you start in the corner like with 3 stitches, and then you increase until you get to the center, which I think the pattern says to go to 45 stitches, and then you decrease back down to 3. Well, I had made this pattern before, and I didn't like that, I didn't think the washcloth was big enough, so I decided to increase farther. So I increased to about, I think it was 55 stitches. It'll be on my project page, which I will link below. But I love the size a lot better. A couple years ago when Marie Kondo and her whole tidying up thing and the way she folds stuff, I kind of got on board with that. And so now they are the nice size that I can fold them up nice and neat, and they kind of will stand in my drawer, which, okay, sounds a little lame, but whatever, small joys. So I was excited about that I figured out how to do that. And my husband really likes these cotton ones. I don't have a super strong preference. For me, it's more about the size. So we were in need of some, so I thought, what a great way to get some more cotton out of my stash. So I knit 3 of those, and it took about 50 grams of the dishy for me to make this larger size, so you can get 2 out of 100 gram ball of dishy, which I think is like, depending if you get it on sale, between $4 and $6 a skein, so not too bad. So I have 3 of those in my finished objects. I'm going to set them back here. And then, believe it or not, on Valentine's Day, I was feeling like I wanted a smaller project, and I didn't want to knit for anybody but myself. And I did have 3 pairs of socks on the needles already. So, okay, so I could have picked up one of those, but I thought, no, I want to knit a pair for me, because all of those socks that were on the needles were in darker colors, and they were all for men in my life, or boys. And so I decided I was going to pick up something fun that I wanted to do. So I had this gobstopper ball from Lollipop Yarns that I got from a friend a little while ago. And I knit it up, and I actually finished. I've got them both done. So I started these on Valentine's Day, and I finished them in a week. I made these out of the Lollipop Yarns in the Beefcake base, which is actually a sport weight. I believe it's 330 yards to 100 grams, and it comes with, it's got the 3 stripes, so it had this variegated one, a pink and a red, and then the darker gray ones in between. That was like the striping pattern. So it came with the big skein of that, already wound up in a ball, and then it came with the red mini. So this looks like it's the same, it is the same color as this, but this is actually the mini that came with it. So yeah, so I actually did these. I haven't done sport weight socks for myself in a while, so I wasn't exactly sure how many stitches I would need. And when I first started doing socks, I always did them toe up. In fact, I did them 2 at a time toe up. But now I like to do them cuff down 1 at a time on double points, most of the time. That's my preference. But so these I did on a US 1, and I started them out magic loop with Judy's Magic Cast On for the toe. And I worked my way up, and then I did a Fish Lips Kiss Heel by the Socks Therapist. And the reason I did that is because I could use my template, my foot template, a lot easier. And then I knew I wanted to use up as much of my skein as possible. So then I would know, I could do half and then go up. It would be easier to do a toe up. So this heel is not necessarily my preferred heel anymore. It fits me okay because I don't really have a super high arch, but I really like the traditional heel flap and gusset. I would say is my favorite just because of how it fits and how it wears, and I kind of like how it looks too. It sort of has that, fun traditional sock look. But these fit, they're super comfortable. They ended up being 56 stitches. So 56 stitches on US 1 needles and Fish Lips Kiss Heel. And then I did, here's a funny one. So I think last episode it was called I'm No Math Teacher. Well, take two here because, which one is it? This one. So I did this one first. And I normally, on my socks, there's 64 stitches, and I like to do knit 3. I think I do knit 3, purl 1 is my favorite ribbing. I don't know, I just like how that looks. Well, these, for some reason, I decided to do knit 2, purl 2. I don't know why. I think I could have done this knit 3, 1 the other way too, but I didn't. I did knit 2, purl 2. Well, then on the second one, I couldn't count. Look, if you look closely, you can see here, I did 4 knits together, as did I here, which I don't know, this looks really wonky. I don't know what I did with my stitches there. I think it must have been when I was doing double points, where your needles are kind of crossed. I'm not doing this very good, but you know how they're kind of in a square? I use 4 double points to knit socks, and I don't know what I did. It must have been how the needles fell, how the stitches fell on the needles, because I had 14 on each instead of having 16 on each like I normally do with 64 stitches. And so where I was supposed to purl the first stitch of the needle, I knit it. And so, but I noticed it when it was about, a little ways up, but I didn't care. I thought, well, who cares? It's just going to be me that sees them. So anyway, a new pair of socks for me. Yay! Something that was not planned, but was fun to finish. So that's it for my finished objects, but I have been working on the socks. I worked on the socks a lot, as well as the dishcloths, but I have been working on my sweater quite a bit, the Fade Neve sweater by Andrea Mowry, which I am knitting out of Berry Fun Yarns in the DK All-Star base, which is, let's see, what is it? It is 115 grams per skein, and there's 250 yards in that skein. So I finished the body. This is the wrong side, so if you're looking at it, this is the wrong side. Kind of fades down. My bottom is kind of folding. And it is a split cuff. So this color, I love this color. This is one of my favorite colors. It is called Under the Sea. And I think I talked about it last time, how it's an overdye with indigo. And this one is Steamed Asparagus, which is kind of a swampy green. This one here is, it's the one that I can't remember the name of. I don't remember, but I am going to try to replicate that. And then the very top is Fairy Garden, which is kind of a light minty green color. So that is so I've finished the body. I am onto the sleeve here. Didn't get very far. I'm going to see if I can actually show you the correct side, because the right side, see how that'll work with my needles here. I'm just going to leave my needles in the arm there so they don't get pulled out, but it has the bobbles on. So isn't that fun? So it's kind of blowing out a little bit with my lighting here today, but so when I stand up, it'll kind of come right below this is kind of where my hips are here. So I think it'll be perfect. And then it's hard to see here, but the bobbles do go down. They will go down the sleeve. So right now I tried it on and it fits good. I do know that the Berry Fun Yarns DK All-Star base, so if anybody hasn't knit with that base before and is thinking about knitting with it, it is 100% super fine merino, superwash super fine merino, and it stretches a lot. So it's a very, like once you wet it, it can stretch a lot. So I tried, knowing that, I tried to knit at a little tighter gauge. I think I used, let's see, I wrote it down. Yes, I used a US 4 needle on this. So, and you knit it inside out, and then you switch it around at the end. So I used a size 4 needle for the body and a size 2 for the neckline, and then will be for the bottom, and then for the cuffs on the sleeves will be a 2 as well. So I'm hoping that it stretches just a little bit, but not a ton. So, but I love how that's coming out. Hopefully by next time I see you, I will have that done and I can wear it before it gets too warm out. Although it's Minnesota, it's going to be a while before it gets warm out. Okay, so that's the Fate in a Bay. The only other project that I have really been working on much at all has been my corner to corner crochet temperature blanket that I talked about last time. And I love this blanket. The only reason I haven't done more on this blanket since last time is because I was knitting those socks, and I just kind of got involved in the socks. But I had to actually order some more yarn because I didn't figure out very well when I ordered my first batch of the fact that summer, like I started it, for those who haven't watched my previous episode, it is a temperature blanket based on the temperatures of my oldest son's first year of life. So he was born March 30th. So the temperatures started, in Minnesota, and they're like, I don't know, 40, 50 degrees generally in March, April. But then we get to a point where it's like in the 50 to 60 range. And sometimes it stays that way for a lot, and sometimes it fluctuates a lot. Here is my chart. So this is where it tells me if the day was below 8 degrees, then I use this color. If it was here, I use if it's between 50 and 57, I use this color. So I have about 7 to 8 degrees for each color. Oh, watch this. This is kind of funny. So it's really fun to see how it's coming out as the days go on. I'm going to show it to you quick, and then I will tell you the yarn I'm using for it. So it's getting big. There's the bottom where it started in March. And this yellow that's down in there, that kind of yellow, I think it's called Brass Heather. That was like April 2nd, and that was the day, I think this is kind of fun, that was the day he came home from the hospital, and it was like really unseasonably warm that day, which is fun because you can see it looks, there's no other of that color except for that day. So that's kind of a fun memory that's in the blanket. But anyway, so you can see we got to a section where this blue is like I think it's like 50 to 57, or maybe it's a little bit warmer. It might be close to 60. But you see we had big chunks here, and then I had this big chunk here. Anyway, so I ran out of some of it, so I had to place the second order. And then this is where it's starting to get warm. So let me see where I left off. My last day I did was May 17th. So I've got almost 2 months done. So I am using Knit Picks Wool of the Andes, which is a superwash yarn. It's worsted weight. This one is called Persimmon Heather. And I'm using mostly jewel tones, I would say. Yeah, mostly jewel tones, and most of them, this is what I was going to say, most of them are the heathered variety, so they aren't like super solid colors, which I really like the look of the heathered colorways. They kind of have a little more tonality to them. So yeah, so that is that, and that is so much fun. Oh, and I'm crocheting that with a size 3.75 millimeter size F hook from Clover. I really love this hook a lot. And that, pretty much just those two projects is what I have been working on. Let me put this away quick. I have been working on, well, I tried to start another new project on February 17th because it was my husband's and mine 20th wedding anniversary that day, and we had big plans to go on a vacation to Hawaii or something fun and exciting, but of course COVID, so we didn't go anywhere. But I told him after 20 years that I guess he deserved a sweater, and I just have never knit him a sweater because he's one of those guys who's always hot. So I wanted it to be, and he's not a huge guy, but he's not a petite woman either, so it was going to take a lot of knitting. So I wanted to knit something I knew he'd like, so he helped me pick out. I dyed this colorway. This is Very Fun Yarns in the sport weight. It's harder to see. And this is, I would say this is an under the sea colorway as well, like I was using in my other sweater, but it's a little bit lighter version. When it comes to the indigo, sometimes it gets much more saturated and the colors are more robust. And part of that has to do with the indigo, and part of it has to do with you can see kind of the tonal, kind of looks yellowy green, and that is from marigold. And if the marigold that I use before my first set of dyeing, before I dip it in indigo, if that is really strong, then the colors come out really robust with the indigo. And if not, it's just a little more tonal and muted. Here's one that's still in the skein, and you can kind of see some of there's some purple here and green. But yeah, it'll be fun. But what I'm gonna make him is the So Basic sweater by Maxim Sear. And it's like it says, it's a basic top-down raglan sweater. And I had thought about just going with the flax light and just kind of altering my gauge because this is sport weight and the flax light is meant for a fingering weight. But I really wanted to pick a pattern meant for a man. And I know flax can be either or, but I wanted it to be designed, I kind of wanted it to be designed by a man for a man, in that I thought I would have a greater success rate, that it would fit right. Because anybody who lives and breathes knows that a woman, her shoulders and how they are and her chest is very different than the shoulders and the chest of a man. So I thought that I would maybe have a little bit better luck. So my pattern here, I don't have a great picture of it on I don't think I do. I don't think I printed the whole big pattern. You can sort of see it a little bit here, but maybe I'll put in a better picture. But it's just a simple top-down raglan, and then it has some ribbing on the sleeves. But I will put a picture from his pattern page on here so you can see better what it's going to look like. But I tried, here's how far I got, not very far. I tried to cast it on, and I did a gauge swatch. I did do that, but I was not so good, and I ripped out the gauge swatch, so I don't have that to show you. But his pattern calls for, this is a paid for pattern, so I'm not going to tell you all the details, except to say that for the cast on, you can either do the cast on of your choice or the tubular cast on that he recommends. And in all these years, I have never done a tubular cast on, believe it or not. And so I started to do it, like he wrote the directions and I was following the directions. But I think that I was just really, really tight. And I think maybe I need to go up a needle size just for the initial cast on. Once I get all my stitches on the needle, then I can go back to the smaller size needle that he recommends for the ribbing and the cuffs and stuff. So that is in my, I don't know if you'd call it dream knitting or almost cast on knitting. So I'll be working on that here in the coming weeks. I may finish my sweater first and then move on to his sweater. I don't know, there's something about having two sweaters on the needles at the same time that makes me feel overwhelmed. Forget that I have like 4 pairs of socks on the needles. That doesn't seem to bother me. But something about the sweaters, I just want to have one on at a time. So we'll see. I've been kind of in the mood to do a couple projects a lot. So that's why I didn't show you the other projects. I have other whips, of course, just not ones I've been working on. So anyway, so that's the end of my whips. Moving on to in the pots. I am so excited to get dyeing again. I just have to say that I'm really excited. However, I was looking in on my inventory and some of the things that I have still in stock, and I was thinking, it'd be really nice if I could get some of this inventory out, because it's been hard because we're not doing in-person things. So it's been hard to share my yarn with the typical audience I would see. I normally set up at the farmers market downtown, but because of COVID, we weren't set up there. And haven't been doing any shows or anything because everything's been canceled. So I thought, well, let's do a fun spring cleaning sale in the inventory and get you all some really great deals. And hopefully some of these beautiful skeins of yarn can find a new home and can be made into something fun for the spring or summer. So that's what I decided to do. And so all of the full skeins on the Berry Fun Yarns store online, I'll put the link below, from February 27th, so this coming Saturday, through March 13th, also a Saturday. So for 2 weeks, they will be on sale. And most of them are going to be $20 a skein. I just thought that was easier. And the only thing that isn't, I think, will be, I have a little bit of yak sock base and some merino cashmere. That's a little more expensive yarn to begin with, a little bit more luxurious. Those will be probably $22 skeins. But everything will be on sale. Even the mini sets, the micro bags, micro grab bag micro sets. I can never say that right. And then on top of that, I've also been working on, and will be having more, but I'm going to show you a few. I'm putting together some sets for people. So when I say sets, I don't mean huge like sweater sets or even like shawl sets, although you could certainly do that. And if you go online and you have questions about whether or not something would look good with something else, because sometimes it's really hard to tell online, please message me or contact me, and I can take a picture of it together and I can send it to you, or I can talk to you about it and let you know. But because I haven't been dyeing a lot, I have a lot of maybe 1 or 2 or 3 skeins of the same color, and I thought it'd be fun to pair them together. So what I have done is I have made some mohair sets. So there are a lot of amazing patterns right now where you can combine a skein of fingering with a skein of mohair, or a skein of DK weight with a skein of mohair. And so that's what I did. I pulled skeins that I thought would look really nice together, and those will be paired under the combination sets or combo sets, maybe I think I have it listed as. And there will be mohair ones, and then there will be colorwork ones. So for mohair, there will be either in fingering weight with the mohair or with the DK weight, and they will be reduced as well. So I think, they'll be pretty close to the same sale as would be for the single skeins. So let me just show you a couple. Here is one in the fingering weight. I've got a piece of this one. These colors are so hard to see online on a video, even or on a camera. Oh, that's pretty decent. So the bottom one is called Farm Cat, and it has grays and creams and oranges, and then the top one is pumpkin, which is an orange. And these are dyed, the pumpkin one the orange comes from coreopsis flowers, and the gray comes from logwood. So that will be a really fun, bright set. And then I have this one is one of my favorites. Whoops. And I'm guessing this one might blow out because it's kind of lighter. But this is called Misty Morning, and I have to tell you, there we go. This is one of the hardest colors for me to photograph because it's not green, although it's sort of like a sea foamy green, but it's very light. So it tends to blow out whenever I try to photograph it. But I love it. It's not green, it's not blue, it's kind of somewhere in between. That will be one of the sets, the Misty Morning set. I have one more fingering I'm going to show you. This one is The Earth is But One Country paired with overalls, which is kind of a light blue. So this is on the sparkle base, which is a 75% superwash merino, 20% nylon, 5% silver stellina. You can see the sparkle in there a little bit. And then the mohair, which is 72% kid mohair, 28% silk. So this skein has blues and greens. This one's actually dyed with the greeny yellow part, comes from dandelion, and then I over dye it in indigo. So mohair set I'm going to show you is a DK set. There are going to be lots others in there, but this one I just thought would be fun to show. This one is a lemony snicket. So it has a lemony yellow base with pops of pink, and then there are some kind of gray brown purpley color. There's a little bit more of the purple in there, and then it is paired with a sunny side up mohair, which is a bright yellow. That one's super fun. Then I have a couple. I will have in the shop what's called sock sets. However, you can also use them for other patterns. So what I didn't mention is I will have on all of the links for these sets, I will have links to patterns that would pair well with the set. So that way, if you're not sure what to make with it, but you really love the color, you can kind of click on those and you can see if one of those patterns speak to you. And some of the patterns that I will link will be free and some will be paid for, but they will be on Ravelry for you to download as you wish. One of those patterns is called the Spring Fling. And sorry, I said it wrong. Spring Thing. And it is by Lisa from Espace Tricot. Isn't that beautiful? This is just one skein of fingering and a 20-gram mini. So I actually pulled yarn myself to make this. There's a theme here, Under the Sea, and then this one-of-a-kind mini is going to be the edge. So this mini, I love this color. It was a one-of-a-kind surprise, but I love it. So I will be experimenting as soon as the dye pots get brewing again to see if I can't replicate this rich purple with browns. I'm pretty sure I used coffee, walnut, cochineal, and logwood in it, but how much and the concentration of each, that will be the surprise. So Spring Thing is a fabulous one skein, 100-gram skein, 120-gram mini skein that you can make. And so I have lots of sets in the shop. I think they're called sock sets. I'm not certain. I'll have to look. I'll write it on the screen now if I change it from sock sets. But they are mini skein, full skein sets. And they are perfect for knitting a pair of socks with contrasting heel and toe, or for this shawl that I just showed you. This is one new combo that I'm putting in the shop, and it's called Berry Tough Confetti, the base, and it is a sock weight base. I believe it is 437 yards to 100 grams, and it has these really fun colored neps in it, so it's a tweedy base. But the fun thing is that this one was dipped in indigo, and the neps were, like this one was supposed to be pink, and there were other ones, like this one was yellow originally. But when I dipped it in the indigo, it took on the color of the blue, the yellow plus blue equals green, or red plus pink plus blue is purple. So now the neps are only dark green, a blue, or purple. So that goes with that. And then this is the blue mini to go with it. So that's a fun one. And then this one maybe would be better for socks, because when it knits up as socks, it does a bit of a micro striping, but this is unicorn tails in the full skein and overalls in the mini skein. That's another fun combo. And then I'm going to go kind of fast here when I show you these because I'm getting kind of blabbery here. I'm going to be here forever. So I'm going to show you first some DK sets, some color sets. This one is steamed asparagus and pumpkin, which is on my DK tweed base. So this will be two 50-gram skeins that you can use to make mittens or hats or cowls or whatever it is you'd like to do. Here we have blackberry and rainforest, which is a really purple green and really pretty purple and green. I can't speak very well. This one I love too. I believe the blue is called Boy Meets Grass because it kind of looks like there's some grass stains in there. It's hard to see. It's very subtle, but the grass stains in this one match the steamed asparagus in the other one. And the last one I have to show you is Lemony Snicket and Blackberry. And this one has the pops of the purple throughout the variegated, along with some pink, and then of course the yellow base and the purple. So those will be in the shop, and not only will they be paired up for you, but they will also be on sale like all the other yarns. So that will be pretty fun. And then I'm still working on my fingering weight colorwork pairings, but this is the first one. This is Minnesota Northwoods and Barley, and this is on the sparkle base. And a couple of them I haven't rewound yet, so they're still in the balls, but this is going to be a very light lipstick kisses and grape juice, so very tonal, lighter, darker combination. Here's another one like that, but with greens. This is Key Lime and Minnesota Northwoods. And then if you really want something more contrasty, we will have those as well. This one is If Rain, I think it's If Rain Came in Color. If Rain Fell in Color, that's this one. And then this one is Spring Lilacs. So there'll be lots of options for everyone for pretty much any kind of project you're thinking. So I'm going to have this sale for 2 weeks, and then hopefully I can send lots of beautiful yarn out to you guys, and you can enjoy that and you can make wonderful things, and then I can restock the store with all kinds of fun new colorways that I have in my head. So that's in the pots. Oh, one last thing about that. There is no coupon that is needed for that sale. Everything will just be sale priced on the store as is, so it'll be real easy. And the sale will go, I have it programmed to go live, and it goes live by day. So it'll be midnight on Friday. So Saturday morning at midnight, the 27th, and that will go until 11:59 p.m. on the 13th. Okay, so that's it for Yarny Things. So if you're just here for the Yarny Things, thank you so much, and I'll see you next time. But if you're interested in what we're cooking in the kitchen and what we're learning in the classroom, I'd love to have you stay along a little bit longer. So in the kitchen, we are having fun trying to eat more vegetables. That sounds kind of like a weird thing to say, but it's not so much vegetables throughout the day. It's that we have come to realize, so I'll talk a little bit more about this in the classroom. My 16-year-old son and I are doing a nutrition class this year. And we have read a lot about the value of vegetables, right? Like we all know it's good to eat your vegetables. But we don't really think about eating vegetables at breakfast so much as you do at lunch or dinner, or maybe a snack of carrots or something like that. And breakfast seems like a perfect opportunity to eat more vegetables. So we cook a lot in our house because myself and my 4 sons were all gluten-free. And my husband, he'll eat gluten-free for the most part. He just doesn't like our bread. He cooks our bread for us, but he doesn't like to eat it. And also my 16-year-old and I, we do not eat dairy usually, and so you have to learn to modify patterns. I'm still thinking knitting. You have to learn to modify recipes a lot, which we have over the years. So to get back to the point of the vegetables, is that we have a large garden, probably not surprising because we live in the country and we have a farm, and our kids eat a lot. So we grow as much as we can to kind of keep our food budget down, especially because we really appreciate organic produce and the lack of a lot of the chemicals and pesticides that are used in conventional growing. So this past year, oh, my cat's going to join me. This is Soleil. Hopefully she's not too annoying. This past year, we planted probably, I want to say, close to 200 plants, potato plants. So this past year, we had a lot of potatoes. We started to harvest them in, I would say, September, October of 2020, and we still have potatoes now, and we are almost in March, and we eat a lot of potatoes, I would say. So we had hundreds of pounds of potatoes. So one of the yummy things that we have liked to make in the past is baked potato bar, where we take our potatoes and we wash them, we gently fork them, we put a little olive oil on them, we wrap them in aluminum foil, and we stick them in the crock pot where they cook for usually about 5 to 6 hours, depending on how large they are, on high, and then they're perfectly cooked. And then we will take them out and we cut them up and we top them with, broccoli, cooked broccoli, cheese. If we eat cheese, we do olives, black olives, we do olive oil, salt and pepper. Sometimes we do it in like a Mexican style, and we do like refried beans. If you're a meat eater, you could do taco meat or chicken meat, chicken breast on there. Really, the options are endless. So we have done baked potato bar for a long time, but just over the past few weeks, we have started to do extra baked potatoes, and we have baked potatoes pretty much every Sunday. My husband will cook them, he'll cook extra, and then the extra ones we simply put in the refrigerator for the week ahead. And then in the morning, we take those potatoes that are already cooked, we chop them up and dice them into small chunks. We saute them in just a little bit of olive oil in a pan, and then we add more vegetables to them. So our local Costco, where we like to buy a lot of our organic produce in bulk because we eat a lot, we probably eat 8 pounds of broccoli and 6 pounds of Brussels sprouts in 1 week. Like that would not be unheard of for us. So we'll get things like broccoli, Brussels sprouts, cauliflower rice in the freezer department. My 16-year-old has started to like edamame. What else do we get there? Mushrooms. You could do onions. We have onions left from our growing season. Celery. All those sorts of things. So while the potatoes are sauteing, we will cut up our vegetables and steam them with just a little bit of water in a pan. Or if it's onions and peppers, maybe we saute them and add, or mushrooms, saute them in a pan and add them. And then when everything's done, we just combine it all together and it becomes like a potato hash with vegetables. And that's what we eat for breakfast. So it's been really yummy, it's been filling, and it's a way for us to get more vegetables into our diet first thing in the morning instead of having, sugary cereal or lots of toast or waffles or pancakes or things like that, which I think are easier to get in later in the day. So we kind of hit the ground running with our vegetables. So that's been something really tasty and easy because it only takes about 20 to 30 minutes to saute the vegetables in the morning. So the last segment on the list today that I wanted to chat with you about was in the classroom. And I have been having a lot of fun learning with my children. So our boys are ages 9, 13, 16, and the oldest will be 18 next month. The oldest one takes classes at our local college and does just one class with me, African American literature, and then he does a finance class with his dad. And then the other 3 I school fully. So we do a lot of things together. Obviously we do the basic math, science, history, those sorts of things. But then as they get older into middle school and high school, I really encourage them to start to think about the things that they're interested in. So for instance, my oldest son loves music. So when he got to be that age, we spent more time on, I allotted for more time for him to practice his viola, his piano, and then time to compose music, which is what he wants to do in life. My 16-year-old son is more interested in things that have to do with nutrition. So this year he asked me if we could do a class on nutrition. So we started the year off with a very basic reintroduction. So he's already taken biology. We took a reintroduction of him learning about the basic body systems of the body, and it focused a little more on digestion and the different minerals that we need, where they come from, that sort of thing. And then we moved on to different books that together we looked at, and we thought they would be interesting to read. New research in the nutrition field specifically. So the last two books we just finished were called The China Study and Whole, W-H-O-L-E, and they were both by Colin Campbell. The first one, The China Study, his son Thomas, I believe, also helped him. But they focused a lot on the benefit of vegetables, which is how we got to the more vegetables for breakfast part. And Colin Campbell was a researcher who ended up doing research in the Philippines. He was trying to figure out why this certain area in the Philippines, children were getting liver cancer, I believe is what it was. It was a type of cancer, so much more than other areas. What was the common denominator? Well, at first they thought it was a toxin called aflatoxin that was you find it in like moldy peanuts. I think you can find it in moldy corn, things like that. And although there was a connection with that, he found an even stronger connection with the children who were eating a higher percentage of animal protein. So the kids that were being affected most were from a very affluent area, very wealthy families in the Philippines, and they were actually becoming the sickest, which didn't make much sense. So when he found this link, it was exciting for him in that it was something not only that was obvious in his research, but it was easy to fix, in that if we could change our diet, we could change our risk level of these children could change their risk level. So anyway, there's a lot more to the story, and I was a little skeptical at first, but his research in the book is well documented. It's phenomenal research. He went not only doing research with, I believe they used rats or mice, and I know that not everybody agrees with that, but that's, I believe, what he used. And then he moved on to human studies in China, which is where the China Study came from. So, very interesting read. I would highly recommend the book, particularly the China Study book. I liked that one more. For anybody who has a history of cancer, heart disease, diabetes, he was talking about all of these in the book. And one of the most interesting facts of the book, I thought, was his what would be the word for it to explain it? His understanding and the breakdown of how he talked about the difference between affluent diseases and diseases of poverty. So in the world where the nations and the people are very poor, you tend to see diseases like parasite infections, bacterial or viral infections, because maybe vaccines aren't as readily available or the water is not as clean. Whereas in wealthy countries, you see these diseases of excess, right? You see diabetes, you see heart disease, you see those sorts of things, cancer. And we've been able to, he's not the first one, I'm sure. He's just one of the first who's been able to document it so profoundly, the relationship between our diet and these diseases that we're seeing in our world today. So anyway, that's a lot of yabbering about a book, but it was very interesting, and my son Ian and I had some really great discussions about it. We talked about does it, and the author doesn't really speak about this too much, but we hypothesized and talked together about, is it really that you're not eating the meat, or that it's the meat protein or the animal protein, or is it that when you don't eat animal protein, you have so much more room in your diet to eat more vegetables, which provide us with so many wonderful vitamins and minerals and antioxidants and all these things that we know are good, because nobody's ever told us broccoli is bad for you, right? In all the studies, they never say, don't eat broccoli because it's bad for you. I've never heard that. They might change back and forth between, fat is good, fat is bad, this kind of fat is better, or this is good and this is bad. And it switches, right? So as consumers, it's hard for us to figure out what to eat. But vegetables, that seems like a no-brainer. So that's how we ended up eating more vegetables and trying to keep our bodies healthy without having to take a ton of other supplements or medications. So that's kind of where we are. But it's been really fun to discuss the topic with my 16-year-old. Okay, that is a lot of rambling today, and hopefully you found something of interest either in the knitting or the crafting or the kitchen or the classroom, or maybe a little of everything. But I will hopefully be back with you in another week or so to chat some more about what's going on the farm here, in our family, and in my crafting life. But until then, I hope you are all well, and I look forward to seeing you in another week or so. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.